Welcome. I'm your host, Christina Haskin, and tonight I have John Turenne. He's president and founder of Sustainable Food Systems, LLC in Wallingford, Connecticut. He is the leader in the movement to bring sustainable, healthy food to institutions like universities, hospitals, and school districts. He led the behind-the-scenes team that made Jamie Oliver's Food Revolution work in Huntington, West Virginia. He is one of the 9 chefs chosen to create the Chef Moore school program, which was part of Michelle Obama's Let's Move initiative to combat childhood obesity. Didn't you do something with the White House as far as with were you one of the chefs that was picked by Michelle Obama's program?
Thanks. Yeah, that was an honor. The First Lady has her Let's Move initiative to combat childhood obesity, as you said, and she championed the White House executive chef, Sam Kass, to come up with an initiative to try to help school food. And several of us from the state of Connecticut, out of the 9, myself and Tim Cipriano, who runs New Haven Public Schools, were asked to go down and meet with Sam and come up with strategies to address school food. And what we came up with was, why don't we ask the hundreds of thousands of chefs that are out there in the United States in all lines of business, restaurants, country clubs, private homes, or whatever, to ask most of them to adopt one school each.
Wow.
Just adopt a school. And when you go to that school, work with the students. I mean, let's face it, chefs are rock stars today with all the media. So what we've developed is a tool and a process where a chef can go into, work with students to help with curriculum, getting them to learn where food comes from, and work with the food service staff if they can as well.
Is that open to other chefs? I mean, is that a local thing in Connecticut that's happening or not?
It's happening across the country.
Wow.
So those of us, the 9 of us, helped create this, and then it rolled out a year ago last June, where, we invited, there was about it was about 1,000 chefs to the White House lawn
Wow.
to kick it off.
Wow.
And ask chefs, hey guys and gals out there, why don't you try helping out school food and adopt? Chefs they're passionate, they're very giving people. This is a cause that can help us all.
That's great. And what, we've been talking a lot about schools, but also you're working with hospitals, which I think is also another area where when you're in the hospital and you have to be there, unfortunately, the food is really pretty bad, and you're needing good nutrition because you're weak from whatever you're in there for. So it's sort of been kind of a baffling thing to me why it's not more. It should be the best. I mean, and then when you said about cost, I don't understand that, because the cost of, just an aspirin or something is huge. So I would think that they'd get the best food. Can you tell us, you have worked with hospitals and?
We have, you wonder, because on hospitals, places of healing, right? And sometimes, you wonder about the stereotype of hospital food, but that's changing too. And more of the healthcare food industry are starting to say, we need to be part of the preventative medicine. As Hippocrates said, 2,000 years ago, who was the father of modern medicine, it was, the way he put it was, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. In the healthcare industry, let's do the same thing. Let's eliminate the food that's not healthy, that's not the best for us, and let's just start cooking again using real, fresh, whole ingredients. Several years ago, I worked here in Connecticut at New Milford Hospital to help them change over their food program. They've got now, it's been recognized in the New York Times recently as far as the high quality local food, a lot of it's sustainably grown, cooked from scratch. They have people from the local community that coming in to use the cafe, to eat in the cafe at the hospital.
Yeah.
It's got such a good reputation.
Wow, that's great. And what about parents? I mean, because I don't know that's probably not an area you've gotten into, but it's because they're kids and people at home are at home a lot longer. Is there any kind of PTA kind of initiative to teach parents about nutrition and how to make easier meals or something for their families?
As far as, you mean to try to teach people to cook better at home?
Yeah.
Gosh, that's a very good question, and it's probably an area that that gets overlooked. We have, in some of the schools that I've worked with, we have had parent nights where we get the kids to come in, the parents to come in.
Oh, that's great, yeah.
And we do cooking demos and workshops. We're going to be doing something, we haven't nailed down a date yet, but I'm going to get a chance to do something in Wallingford sometime in this academic year along those lines, where we're going to bring them in, and because it starts at home. And a lot of times people are, will argue, say, well, why should schools be put under the gun about the quality of food when it starts at home? And I don't disagree with that. But on the other hand, studies have shown many kids in this country, 40% of their calories are coming from what they're consuming in school. You can't tell me there's not a responsibility to make sure then that food, and in some cases it's a lot more. It's sometimes the only meal or the best meal they're getting when you're getting into some underprivileged areas. It's got to be good. We've got a responsibility to provide the best food we can.
I've read too that some of the, if there's too many additives in the food, that it hinders concentration, and there was one study I read where they did good food for a couple of months at a school, and they found the kids listened much better, and they had much more attention ability.
Yeah, you hear about that, or you hear about, the kids don't get a chance to eat a good breakfast. Studies have shown the performance academically is challenged, or after they've eaten, say, a lunch that is filled with sugar and chocolate milks, which is another topic which you can get me off on. The afternoons, the teachers say they're wired, and then they crash because there's too much sugar in some of this. And so the quality of the intake is definitely going to have an impact on the behavior and the, I think, concentration levels of children.
If people want to find out more about your websites, we'll have it at the end, but just...
Sure, it's www.sustainablefoodsystems.com. We have a website that.
And you have a lot of wonderful things on YouTube already, where you've been you've had a lot of good publicity and a lot of.
Gosh,
you're kind of internationally known now and nationally known, because I think you really stand out in the sense that we have to have some innovators that start this ball rolling, and you're one of them. And especially in this country, it's so needed. It's really, this was always a pet peeve issue for me as a parent, and I think it's really wonderful that it's happening and starting to get more mainstream.